Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Bar Talk Live. I'm your host, as always, Marcus, and join with me are Alan and Ivan. And today we have a special guest with us today, Alex Lozano.
Hello,
And we'll
everybody.
jump into him a little bit later, but first, let's go ahead and jump into our drink of the week, shall we?
Good old H2O.
H2O,
I
like always.
got too faded last week. That's why. So
Bitch.
It's blue. You see the mountain?
the mountains are blue. I always thought it was cool. How the mountains got so blue.
Yeah, that was a cool gimmick for Coors Light, yeah, for sure. Alex, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking the Twisted Teas light.
All right. Like it. This week, so I decided to switch it up just a little bit, right? Went on a little bit of a seltzer kick. Drinking some White Claw Black Cherry.
Dude, White Claws get me so drunk for some reason.
Really?
Is it
Yeah.
the extra percent of
I drink
alcohol?
like 8, bro, and I'm so faded. I'm like, dude. If I drink like 10, I'm drunk as hell. I gotta go to bed.
Shit.
I can't tell if it's my stream on here on my phone, but I can't tell if we're lagging pretty bad.
We might be just a little bit. Give it just time to kick in, and yeah, we'll be good to go. But hey, with drink of the week out of the way, why don't we get into a little bit of some fatherly wisdom with Ivan here with our dad joke of the week. So, Ivan, what you got for us?
I don't think you're ready for this one. I don't think you're ready.
Hey, I'll try.
What did the drummer call his twin daughters?
The symbols,
What did
the Siamese symbols.
What did the drummer call his twin daughters? Alex, you got anything?
The drums?
the drums? Uh,
Boom and clap.
It's not even a real name.
Claps are
I
real.
mean, I mean, what parts of the drums do you have? You have like the snare drum. Alan said the cymbals.
You're thinking too deep, bro. You're thinking too deep.
Are we? God.
Ask it again.
All right.
Ask it again.
What did the drummer call his twin daughters?
It's got to be like a name of a drum. Snare bass.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
I think I'm just gonna tell you. I don't think you're
Yeah.
gonna get.
Let us have it.
I'm nowhere. No.
And a one, and a two.
Uh,
Damn.
that was pretty bad.
What?
God. Okay.
No, 'cause you didn't freaking
I
get
would have
it.
not guessed that.
Shut up,
And a
man.
1 and a 2.
That was awful.
Interesting.
I guess that's not one of my better ones.
Hey, you got next week to redeem yourself. So
I got
thought it was-
some. I got some dad jokes that I tell people at Glass at
Oh,
my
yeah?
job.
Hit me with one. Let's
Okay.
hear it.
So like people all the time, they say, "Oh, that glass is so cool," and we hit them with, "It's actually really hot. It's over 2,000 degrees," and they always like, "You got me."
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And then another one I got. It only works when we're making paperweights. But I'm like, oh, we cooled down the face of this paperweight so it doesn't pick up any texture. And then so I have them blow on the face of it, and then I'm like, oh, now you're a glass blower.
All right, that one was good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I didn't really like that one. I get that one.
It'd be crazy if you say that. But, okay.
Ugh.
All right, we're over with the jokes. So, Alan, where'd you go?
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
So, as you who's ever watching, if you haven't noticed, there's a fourth person today.
Yes.
I don't think we announced we were having a guest. I think we just announced we were going live tonight.
Correct.
But if you see him in one of these little squares, his name is Alexander Ethan Lozano. He is
Damn,
like 6
full name
feet.
drop.
He's 6 feet, the weakest guy I've ever met for his height. I met him in high school. He's a great guy. Likes to talk conspiracy theories. one of my best friends. Glad to have him on. And if you haven't figured out, to the dad jokes, his career is glass blowing. He makes glass, and he thinks he's fucking cool. Alexander Lozano.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank y'all for letting me come on today and be a part of y'all's podcast. Can't wait to get turned up here and talk about a little
Oh
bit more
shit.
about myself.
So give us a little spill, man. Give us a little, rundown of Alex before we talk about life getting to where you are now.
Mm, So I'm a pretty shy guy, but I'm also very hilarious, I would say. Some other of my friends don't think so, but they just don't have an advanced sense of humor like I do. And but yes, I do glass blowing as my full time job and my career, and as my passion. So it's really awesome. I started out in Denver City, Texas. I grew up in a small town, about 5,000 people, and that's where I met Ivan, my buddy, and also Alan. He went to school with us as well. So
Hell yeah.
Cool,
Shout
man.
out Denver City.
yes,
So
It's
were
all
you
back.
born and raised there in Denver City?
I was not born there. I was born in San Angelo, Texas.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh,
I did grow up in Denver City. My mom kind of had me when she was almost finished with college, kind of young. So she moved back in with her parents and my grandparents. Now they live in Lubbock, but at the time they were in Denver City. So we moved back in with them. And they help like raise me until I was about 5. So that's kind of where I grew up. It was in Denver City, Texas.
nice.
Nice.
So,
So, oh, go ahead, Evan.
oh, what were you gonna say?
No, you go for it.
Oh, so you graduate. You graduate high school. You walk the stage. And what is young Alex at 18 thinking he's gonna do fresh out of high
Uh,
school?
Honestly, I was dreading it all of high school. I didn't know. I was super lost. I didn't think of like anything. I just knew I was dead set of not working behind a computer for at 9 to 5. I just didn't think I could do that mentally to my body and stuff. So I wanted to do something, maybe blue collar work, maybe do construction or something like that. I kind of thought about maybe going to electrical. My uncle, my stepfather, and my grandpa all do electrical work. So thought maybe looking into that. My parents kind of try to steer me away from going to the oil field since that's both of like what they kind of started their work in. But honestly, I had no clue and no idea. I ended up going to school with another buddy of ours, me and Ivan's, and his name was Taylor Hobbs, and then went to school there. But I went to San Angelo State first because my mom went there, and I was actually born there. So I thought that'd be a good school, and I followed Taylor, and I thought I would do psychology because just like the inner workings of the brain. I wanted to hopefully learn about why people's emotions are the way they are, and how some people are different, and dreams, and kind of like humor, human behavioral stuff as well. I was interested in. So
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought it was cool hearing that that you initially went to school for psychology and you were pursuing that. I mean, I guess what like kind of steered you away from psychology? If you don't mind jumping into that a little bit.
yeah, no. So I went to school in San Angelo, and it honestly wasn't too bad. But it's kind of like a old retirement town, so there's really not a whole lot to do unless unless you're old enough to drink when you first start out. So they got some bars and stuff. There's not really too much. It's kind of like old Lubbock. I guess Lubbock's growing now. It's getting a little bit better. They're getting a lot more stuff. But just a bunch of like bars and movie theater and a mall really is all you can do. Maybe some mini golf. But I actually really hated my first year of college. I don't know why. I've always had like a weird adverse hatred towards school. It was I always struggled with school growing up. So I really didn't want to go to college. But I did it for my grandparents and my mom. But they're 3 months in, I think, my professor was like, hey, if you're going to stick with psychology, here are the downsides. And he was like, you got to go to school for 8 years. He's like, it's a bunch of research papers and stuff. He's like, you also, if you're going to like a therapist route, he said it's really hard to make money because he's like, if you work for someone, you're going to get either a quarter or half of pay of what they're doing. And then if you try to start your own practice, you're going to have to find a building, then kind of build clientele and go up from there. And like, so it's kind of like really hard to start out with like a psychology degree, especially if you're going into like maybe counseling or therapist kind of route, kind of build that
Yeah.
experience and practice. And so I was like, man, I didn't know how to go to school for 8 years. And I was like already hating it. And I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And I was like, that's tough. And I was like, I didn't really even think about trying to like start practices and have your own building. And I'm sure you got to get like business license and all like the paperwork and insurance and stuff. Make sure everyone's like health is good in case like stuff happens, you can't get sued and stuff. So I'm sure there's a lot of work with like other people, like getting secretary, manage everything, a books person, and other that stuff. So I was like, maybe this isn't quite the career path that I'm looking into for myself.
So when you were going through classes, did you really hate going to class? Was the course load, was that pretty demeaning for you?
Not the course load, I would say. Like I just took normal hours and I really didn't have a job, so I had the time, but it was just so soul sucking. It felt like everything we learned in high school, we were just like repeating learning just a little bit
Yeah.
more with like the core classes. And I really hate that about colleges is like, why do they teach us all this in high school just to go into college and we have to do one more full year, like a two or three semesters of like core classes before we can even start working on our degree. And
So
like, maybe it's because, they want people to like figure out what they want to pursue instead of first, but it just kind of seems like a lot of like waste of time and money, at least in my
so
eyes.
so
I agree with that.
I mean, coming from because I went to Angelo State too. I
Oh, you
went to
did?
Angelo,
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool. I didn't know
uh,
that. That's awesome,
yeah. I
Alan.
went to Angelo State for a year too, and I completely agree with you. So my path was a little different. Didn't go into glassblowing, of course, but I did. I came into the oil field.
Mhm.
But going into Angelo State, was there anything else that particularly like that you caught your mind other than like when you figured out that psychology wasn't for you? Was there anything were you wanting to change your what is it
Major.
Major?
your major? Were you wanting to? Was there anything? I remember because me going into it, I went into it as a pre med student, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
That's awesome,
yeah, I
Alan.
went into it as a pre med student. So when I figured out that pre med wasn't for me, I was like, I looked at the list and just kind of saw, and I was like, okay, maybe biology. So I stuck with biology, but I agree with you, where I was like, all this stuff that we're learning right now is just the same repetitive stuff. And I mean, Angelo State is a good college, but
Yeah.
I guess
What's
my
the
question to you is: there just anything else that caught your attention while you were there?
I guess did
Um,
you think you were gonna go a second year at
Yeah,
Angelo State?
yeah, like after my first year, I was pretty much done with the school. I don't know. I had a terrible like first year. I got really depressed. I don't know. I dealt with a lot of in like internal stuff, I guess, like kind of doing it like I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing it for me, so that probably was some of the issue. Like I was doing it
Mhm.
for my grandparents and my mom initially. So I didn't really have the passion for school or what I was doing, especially after like I realized like 3 months in, oh man, this isn't for me. Like, what am I going to do? And I really didn't know. Like, I didn't stay and think like, oh, maybe I should try to find anything else. Like, I knew after that first year, like I was done with college. I like was like, I just need to probably work for a while until I figure it out. Um, Other than that, like you said, San Angelo's a pretty good school. I liked all my teachers; they were nice and stuff. Like good enough. But I also just, I don't know, they're just never didn't like feel like I belonged there. I couldn't find a place where I belonged.
I agree
So
with that. I mean, there was like a lot of, it was going in there was kind of a lot of, there was a lot of diversity there, and that was kind of a
yes,
thing that I noticed going there. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but so after you decide that you're not, you're not going back after your first year, what are your next steps going into the, what is Alex Lozano thinking here?
Like how did the process start? Like, did you just start talking to your mom and your grandparents? Like, how does
Um,
that
like
go?
transitioning from like San Angelo to glass blowing, kind of where I
Yeah,
transferred
or
schools.
I guess just taking the first step, moving to
Okay.
Arlington. You know what I mean?
Um, gotcha. So that's kind of a little bit of a long story. Let me go. I got to go back a few years before kind of starting it because this is kind of pertains to it. So in high school is the first time I ever saw glass blowing. I was staying up real late one night just watching like doom scrolling on YouTube, watching a bunch of different videos, and I ended up finding this glass blowing video of this guy in Murano, Italy, and so that's like a big mecca of glass. They do glass there for like a bunch of years. But I watched him make a bowl or like a plate. And I thought that was super awesome. And for some reason, I was like, that's really cool. And for some reason, it like planted a thought in my brain. It was like, I wonder if I could do that as a career. Like, is that even possible? Do people get paid for that? Like, is that a real job? Fast forward a little bit, I asked my art teacher about it. She's like, I don't know how to get into glass blowing. It's like a European thing. You'd probably have to move to Italy or Murano to
Damn.
even learn glass blowing. She didn't really know much about it. So that's like when my first like kind of I got told by my art teacher. She's like, it's in Italy. It's in Murano, the island. And like, who knows? She's like, I don't know anything about it. She's like, I don't know how you get into it, but she's like, you'll probably have to move to Europe or something to learn. And so that's why I also didn't
She
think
tried
about like,
it with you? Like,
huh?
did she try to did she try to learn some stuff to try to give to you, or was that just
Um,
that was
that was
it?
just like off the top of her head, I think, when I asked her. I didn't really bring it up again after that. I just asked her that first time about it, and she told me her thoughts about it. But we really didn't work on like looking up stuff or anything, and so that's why I went for psychology first, because I just didn't think it was possible, like for money wise and everything. But my mom surprised me my senior year, and we actually went to Italy. We got to see all this different stuff. We went to Rome, San Gimignano, and all this stuff. So we traveled up through Italy. We did not get to go to Murano, unfortunately, but I also
Yeah.
didn't really realize the importance of it. So it's on my bucket list to definitely go back and check that out. But after my first year, skipping forward some time, after San Angelo, I was super lost. I did not know what to do. I was kind of depressed. I really didn't want to go back to school. I was trying to think of like what trade job I would want to get into. And she was real supportive, and she's like, well, why don't you go for art? You always loved art. You grew up drawing and painting. You've always had appreciation for it. And she's like, I never thought you would go to school anyways. But we looked up different kind of things because I didn't want to do drawing or painting because I felt like that it really couldn't make a career out of painting the bills. Like I would have to become a teacher and stuff and do it on the side or something like that. So I really didn't want to do drawing or painting or like animation. Never had a fondness of computers. They don't really work for me for some reason. Um, but so we looked up schools and we looked up like jewelry schools, forging schools like metalsmithing and glass blowing. Those were my like three interests at the time, like pretty heavily. During that time, the show Forged in Fire. I don't know if y'all seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen that one.
And now, so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool too. I was like, I would love to learn any of these skills, kind of do that. So we looked up schools and we ended up finding at the University of Texas at Arlington. There's a glass blowing program there. It's a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. That would be my concentration and my major. And so that summer, and we kind of started pretty late. I think we found it in the end of June, beginning of July, maybe. And we
Oh,
found the school, and literally, or maybe it was already July. Maybe it was about the beginning of July. But we found the school, and she's like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, really complaining, like hard, like maybe I should wait a semester before going and starting. But she's like, let's just do it. And so like we tried really hard to like transfer all my transcripts, get it all like shuffled over there. And it was kind of a hectic start. But we got all the paperwork, they got it back to us and they're like, okay, you're accepted into school. Here you go, these are the starting dates. And by the time we got that all done, it was August already. So I literally finally got accepted and all the transcripts like and stuff moved over. I think it was like maybe a week before it started. Like they emailed me on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and the school started the next Wednesday or Thursday.
You
And
serious?
so yeah, it was pretty intense. So like I was like, Mom, this the school starts literally next week. And so um uh bless her heart, but she was able to plan a flight. We flew down here on the weekend. I think like on a Saturday. We kind of flew in. We checked around stuff. We checked out the school. I think we got my like orientation and my UTA card with my picture on it. And then Sunday we really didn't do too much. I think we tried to go to some apartments and check them out. And then on Monday, um, I think we like finally found an apartment. We signed my lease. And I think we flew back that day also, back home. And then I packed up what I could that night, shoved it all in my truck, drove the next day on Tuesday back to Arlington. Uh, yeah, no, from Lubbock or Dimmer City actually.
I'm
Or
dead.
yeah,
Jeez.
so packed up everything, moved from like Lubbock, Dimmer City area, drove all the way back up to the next day on Tuesday, unpacked what I could, and literally started that next Wednesday. On Wednesday, I literally started school the next day, and so I
God.
wasn't even finished. Didn't even finish fully unpacking until like maybe that following Wednesday.
God
But yeah,
damn,
You
bro.
most
just
of
had
that
a
weekend.
whole apartment and you just had a couple bags. Did you even have a
Yeah,
bed?
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
floor?
So my apartment that I moved in was kind of furnished. So they had like
Oh,
one
okay.
bedside
Okay.
table. They had like a table. They had like a twin size bed in it. But it was like super hectic. We were pretty stressed out because it was literally like drive over there, get all the stuff for filled out, like go to orientation, pick up my classes, get my card, fly back home, pack as much as I could, drove here, unpacked that night when I got here, and then started school the next day. So I was like stressed.
Well, as hectic as it sounds and as stressed as it sounds, it's pretty, like happy and glad that you had your mom there to be like, to have your back through all this. She
Yeah,
really
she
seemed to
helped me
guide
a
you.
lot through all that
She
stuff.
really
So
guided you and supported you through all this, and so that's always good to have.
yeah, she's always been pretty supportive about like me changing career paths and following more artistic stuff. So I really do appreciate her for that.
Yeah,
She's a dog,
Yeah.
man. She
Mhm.
you know
she seemed to figure she
she'll
seemed to figure
love on
everything out.
you. She'll love on you all day, but when it's time to be serious,
Oh yeah,
she got that action, bro. She's no bullshit type of person. Like,
And with
like
that quick
she's
of a turnaround, my God.
dude, dude,
she
she's
can be. She's a very intense, bold woman sometimes.
but she's awesome, man.
She
You
is
need
amazing.
something done, she can do it for you. She'll get it done, bro. She's a great person. I love Robin. Shout out Robin.
So,
Uh,
I mean, so you just get there to UT Arlington. You have class the next day. Well, I mean, what do those first couple days or weeks look like for you? I mean, you're completely transitioning from, San Angelo to
mhm.
Arlington, and you're in this new school,
New
new career
city.
path you're going into. Yeah, new everything. I mean, what did that kind of look like for you?
It was kind of the first like few months were like it was really kind of just confusing and stressful. Like I didn't know where anything was because I didn't do like school orientation really or anything like that. So I didn't know where like anything was like the like classes wise. I didn't know what buildings were. Um, I literally like the next day I like had different classes, so I like planned to go early in the morning and like walk to the route to the classes, and then went back to my room just so I could like try to memorize the route for like the following week on the weekend. Didn't and then I started out with like three random roommates. Like I had
Mm,
no idea who these three people were. Like we shared like a living space and a kitchen, and then we had our own individual room, luckily, and stuff and restroom. But I was like, this is my first time or my second time living with like three other people, and one of them isn't my best friend at the time. So I was like, oh,
yeah.
this is crazy. I was like, I'm meeting all these new people. I don't know the school. I don't know the campus very well. I just was like really kind of nerve wracking and really kind of stressful in the beginning, but I kind of like I kind of like explored some in the first few months, trying to get my like bearings of like the school kind of stuff, and like what restaurants and stuff were around, the food stuff, kind of like that. It was kind of intense, but it did take a little bit of time.
So
Yeah,
were
I
these
mean,
roommates? Were these roommates? Were they very helpful? Like transitioning into that new space, new city life. I mean, like going just going from Denver City to San Angelo was different for me. I can imagine what Denver
Yes.
City to San Angelo to Arlington now. You know what it was like.
Yeah, it was so I thought San Angelo was pretty diverse until I moved to UTA, and I was like super diverse and
Yeah.
like really just an explosion of like culture and foods. Like there's a lot of like Mediterranean or like Lebanese food here, like around Arlington where I like was living, and so like that was totally new. Never tried any of that food. It's actually one of my favorite foods now, but it's like so good, like eating shawarma. But I had
Dude,
no idea.
shawarma.
shawarma,
Really awesome. Love shawarma. One of my favorite.
heroes,
Yeah,
lamb up
and
in that thing. Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah. I'm a
get good
Britannic.
lamb there.
It's pimp,
But
bro.
so that was luckily enough, one of my roommates was pretty cool, and we're still in touch now every once in a while. It's been a while since I reached out to him, but he was the first three set of roommates I had. One was from the Middle East. His name was Edmond. He was from Saudi Arabia, so is where
Oh,
he was from, and he was a grad student. He was learning. What was he? He was doing like psychiatric care. I can't think of the term though when you go to school for it. Not psychology, but psychiatric care stuff.
Like rehab.
More so like helping people in like hospitals, like mental health hospitals and stuff.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay, okay, okay.
I can't think of the technical like school term. What he was studying.
psychiatry,
Psychiatrist, yeah, something like that, or something like that.
psychiatry.
Yeah. So that's what he was going to grad school for. And then my other two roommates, the other one was in grad school, I think for some type of engineering. And the other one was around my age and just had started his undergrad, but was also going for engineering. So
Mm.
he Edmod, the one that was a little older, he took me out places. He cooked a lot of his like food and culture, and so I got to try a lot of his foods. And he was really nice. We hung out a lot. He was a pretty cool dude. So we kind of the other guys were okay. One just helped out a little bit. He was in and out a lot, working on stuff, doing an internship, and the other one was like either in his room or never home. So I didn't
Well,
really know he existed too much.
that's not bad at all, though. I mean, could have been
Yeah,
worse.
first year actually wasn't bad. Yeah,
So,
it
like,
wasn't.
walk us through like your first year of learning to blow glass.
So it was not much of a year. I'm gonna be honest. So my first semester here did like the normal like core classes, kind of going through like some of the beginning art classes and art histories. It wasn't until my second semester in the spring is when I actually started my glass blowing class. Um, I completely fell in love with it. It was my first time like ever touching, seeing the material in person. It was kind of funny though, because they kind of go over some safety stuff. They give you an introduction, and then UTA has a different furnace now. But at that time, whoever had built the studio had built this handmade furnace. They hold probably like 900 pounds of liquid molten glass. These furnaces are kept about like 2150 or higher to have the glass like stay a liquid.
Like
And they
Fahrenheit?
kind of did yeah, Fahrenheit.
So it's like a continuous, it's continuously just
Yeah,
on.
it's constantly heating and it never shuts off. They stay on for 24/7. But it was pretty
Jeez.
funny is the first or second day of class, definitely in the first week, they stood us in front of it like about a foot from it and they opened the door all the way so you just get blasted with all this 2000-degree heat, and they're like, if you can't take this heat, drop this class now. And that was pretty intense. It takes a while to like, at least for me, it took a while for me to like wanting every time I gathered glass to like not want to flinch away with like my face, because you just always get hit with like a wave of heat.
Would it make you sick getting exposed to so much heat? Like, does it make you sick?
Um,
Nauseous, maybe?
I mean, I would definitely
Not
think
for me
dehydration, right?
personally. A lot of people did get nauseous and sick, but I just don't think they're hydrated enough. Either not enough electrolytes, not a water, or you haven't eaten. If you like stay in there 9 hours and you haven't eaten, but you've been drinking water and electrolytes, you're gonna feel like exhausted and kind of burnt out too.
Are you sweating a lot? Like, are you like
Oh,
usually
yeah,
sweating?
constantly.
Bro, I
Yeah.
can't imagine. I
It
mean, I'm
depends on how hot it is. Luckily, UTA is like one of the best facilities I think in the United States. They have air conditioning inside of their studio.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
like keeps it about it's supposed to keep it 75 degrees year round, but of course they have problems. Like there's been a few months where like it broke and it was awful in there. But yeah, you just like
God.
sweat profusely. You just like nonstop sweating if you like work in a really hot studio. Because most of them don't have air conditioning. It's like a small metal building and you just like work and you have big fans. Hopefully you have a big garage to get some ventilation in there. Or you're just cooking. Um But my first time touching the glass, I don't know. I just like was watching it. I joked with some of my customers at work all the time. I said like, if you're pyromaniac when you were a kid, this was the job you want to get into because you just play with fire and lava all day.
Oh,
But
dude.
but just seeing the glow and the material and being able to make these beautiful kind of magical like things out of glass. I don't know. Something just clicked inside. I fell in love with it. I felt like a internal click. And then what also solidified my journey was like no matter ever waking second I had, I was either in the studio, either practicing, helping a advanced student or teacher, or I was watching someone like more advanced than me work to try to like learn the finger movements, learning what tools did what and how to use them. And I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't like sleeping. And I was like, well, if my other life is deteriorating because I'm so excited and passionate about this, I must really love this. So this must be what I'm supposed to do.
Fuck yeah,
So
dude. I'll
take
applaud
it.
that. That's
Yeah.
awesome,
Thank you.
dude.
And so that's kind of how I fell into it in the beginning of school. Crazy enough, my first semester got cut short because that's when COVID started.
Oh,
Oh,
About
okay.
halfway through my semester of glass, COVID hit and the world like shut down. So I had just moved to this new place, new school, found something I super love, and then COVID hit. And glass blowing is very like there's a lot of secondhand kissing. It's very like you always have two people working at the same time. It's a lot of like, stuff you have to learn in person. You can't like learn it online or like practice that in your home. It's just not
Yeah.
possible. So like I didn't know that if they were going to open it back up. Like I had just moved over here, just started going to school for this thing that I found out that I love. And then I didn't know if it was going to even be possible to finish my degree because like COVID hit. And so it was like kind of like I was like, man, the world doesn't really want me to like keep going or something. It was like really tough at that point.
so
I mean, I can only imagine what was going through your head. Like, again, you said it. You just switched. You started doing what you were loving, right? And then pandemic hits, and your future's uncertain. I mean, damn, that's definitely one hit after another there for you.
I
Yeah.
mean, I can't imagine. I mean, just hearing you talk about this, how passionate you are of this. I wish I had something like that. Like I don't know
Dude.
like how other guys feel about their job or whatever, but like
we
I wish I was that passionate about my job. I wish I could say like, God damn, I love my job. Like I went to school for my job and like I stopped eating for my job. I stopped sleeping for my
oh
career.
shit,
Like
dude. I mean,
hearing
like
hearing you talk
in
about it is
person,
just great.
we had the conversation. I was like, dude, Alex, you know how lucky you are to love what you do every day. I wake up every day and I dread having to go to work because I mean, it's not being blue collar. You're just it's like it's either you're grinding or you're not. And if you're grinding, there's implications on top of you. There's things you have to follow, micromanaging. Like you're just always having to like follow like a strict routine. And it's like, it's just like a lot. So like you being able to just get in your zone and just fucking I don't even know the movements. You probably wear like cool glasses or something. I don't even know.
It's
I've
crazy,
never.
man. No, it's crazy. It's just hearing you talk about it, man. I'm like, man, I really wish I had this love for what I do, but I don't. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do feel blessed, and I have to tell myself that, and I try to remind myself all the time about it because I'm like, it's so crazy. I grew up in this small town of 5,000 people, and now I'm living in Dallas now. I used to live in Arlington when I went to school, but I'm living in Dallas. I'm pretty much almost making it, and like I have my full-time job in this career and thing that I'm passionate about, and I'm like, most people don't can't even find their like passion or career like late till later in life, and I like found it so young. It's just like incredible, and I meet all these people that come in and like take glass, and they're like, "Oh my god, I love this," and I've been wanting to try this for years, and I wish I could do this now, but now like I'm too old, and I just have to tell them like, it's never too late to start, but it's like, they just wish they could have got like experience in it or like seen it when they were younger and got started, and then they've never really knew how to. And it is kind of a niche thing. It's not like the most popular thing in the world or the easiest thing to get started in. You can like apprentice, but you have to kind of like know somebody, or you have to try really hard to like work your way up in a studio from like just sweeping and opening doors. Um,
That's kind of what you did, right? You kind of.
Kind of. I was a little bit luckier than that. But then you go the academic route. Most schools up north, though, they don't have a huge facility. That's why I say ETA is one of the best, because they're pretty small. Like you either have to get waitlisted, and they only have maybe like max 15 to like maybe 10 or less in the class. So it's waitlisted.
Wow.
You don't have a full functioning facility. So most people just see like glass and you just think you make glass, but there's so much more that goes into it outside of that. So you can make these things in what we call the hot shop area, the main like area where you work with like blown vessels or bowls or kind of any object sculptures. And then you can take it out of the hot shop and go to the cold shop, and that's where you do all your grinding, polishing, and carving for some people or some artists. And you can do that there, and then you can take it back to the hot shop, pick it up, and fire polish it if you want to, or do some other crazy techniques.
So
There's also like gallery setup and like figuring out fixtures, wall hanging, lighting if you're doing some more of like that stuff as well. So there's a lot more that just instead of just like working in the hot shop kind of pertains to. But UTA has a full functioning cold facility. You learn glass blowing there. They can have almost like 20 people in the class. I think it's about 18. So it's pretty big. And they also teach you a different style of glass blowing, which is kiln fused glass. We use these giant kilns to kind of fuse sheets of glass together to make different patterns and designs on that. And you can actually slump them into like bowls or like kitchen things, like for sauce trays and things like that, are more decorative stuff as well.
so
So,
I kind of want to backtrack. So I think we'll kind of get to that a bit later. You can explain that
okay.
a little bit in depth. So COVID happens. What's going on now? So what I mean, do you just sit and wait until you can go back in person, or is it like a certain time where you're just kind of just like, you're doing online coursework, or like how does that work for something that's physically intensive?
Yeah, so it was kind of silly, but like we couldn't really do anything. So to finish out that semester, basically our teacher was like, I know you're not supposed to go outside, but try to go outside and take pictures of like glass windows or bottles, or if you do go to a restaurant, take a picture of that, send it in for credit. One of our projects was like find a glass in your house, like take a picture of it. And then one of our projects, and I think this was like the file, was like use what you have in your house to make a goblet. So I ended up
Oh,
making like a goblet that I would try to like make in glass out of like some wire that I had like laying around. And so that was like
wow.
our final project, something like that. So it was like not in person at all. Luckily, the second semester they had fought with the school and stuff, so they opened it back up. Class was very limited in size. A lot of people dropped during COVID, so a lot of people I went to school with, they just like stopped going to school because they're like, where we don't want to deal with the facilities and stuff like that, because it was kind of stressful. You had to wear a mask, like blowing glass. It was already so hot and sweaty in there, and it was tough to do that. Also, we had these little rubber mouthpieces that you put at the end of these blowpipes so you can inflate them. So everyone had their own mouthpiece. So you always had to sanitize, make sure you had your own mouthpiece, so no one got sick. Then we had like wipes to wipe down pipes. We had Germex at every station. So they really went hard to try to like make sure we could still keep blowing glass at the school. It just was a little tougher than normal. We got these hoses like an extension to inflate on our own instead of having our partner do it. So that was kind of like a upgrade too and stuff. So they tried their best to try to make it as safe as possible through the program, so we could continue to do glass the next semester without having to just do everything online.
So what going into like your finishing up that semester and then going into your second semester, what is like your first like sculpture, first glass product that you were like, damn, I'm really proud of this right here?
Um, so the first one, they started us off making shapes like a cylinder, a cone, an inverse cone, and then we learned how to do bubbles. And then we learned how to do vases, like simple drop neck vases is what we call like skinny neck and then kind of bulbous bottom, like a classic soap
Yeah.
dispenser. And then we learned cylinders. Um, the next semester was pretty exciting because I think that's the semester where I got to start playing with color. So I bought all this colored glass during the summer. Um, I, I'm trying to remember during that second semester what was my favorite piece, but I think I made this like I tried to make some goblets. I made some bowls that turned out really nice, and a
How do
bunch
you
of
shape
plates.
it? Like, how do
Huh?
you shape it? Like, how do you get to it? Like, how do you get the desired shape?
There's this thing called like bubble theory, but typically every like shape starts out with kind of a tapered up top and kind of tapered at the bottom, kind of almost like a rhombus or a diamond shape. And depending on where you heat and where you inflate, can change your vessel shape. So if you have a sphere and you heat half of it and drop it out, and then blow it back up, that becomes a cylinder. If you want just like if you want a vase with a large bottom, like a long skinny neck, you heat the bubble, the whole thing up, and then you let it drop skinny. Then you have enough glass to inflate the bottom.
And when you say
Both.
inflate, are you like you're like air's being blown into it?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because you're blowing the glass, right? Because you're blowing
Yeah, yeah.
into it through the tube.
Yes, yeah. So you're either blowing through the blow pipe or like a blow hose was just an extension of the pipe that used for more solo stuff. So typically glass blowing is like a team thing. It's always two people, no matter what. Um, like anywhere you go in the world, it's a team of two. Now, when you go more complicated or larger, depending on what you do, it always requires more team members. But yeah, always team of two. So either you inflate it by yourself with the blow hose, or like someone's giving you air pressure, which is kind of hard to learn in the beginning because like you have to work with somebody else, and like they're also a beginner, and so they don't know how to give air. So like a lot of your pieces in the beginning, people just blow too hard, and I did this for a few people too. But you just like blow out the bottom, like you can blow too hard, too fast, and it'll like get too thin and pop sometimes, or get a hole in it, or like sometimes they'll just get too thin and they'll break later, and then you're like, oh, my bad on that one.
So, would you say that there's a similarity, in a sense, with like glass blowing and like pottery work?
Yeah, so we joke about this at work all the time, but we think like glass blowing is a in between kind of metal forging
Mhm.
and ceramics work. Like, so if they had a baby, that would be glass blowing. Because
Okay.
you're working with like extreme heats and stuff. But what I would say personally is glass blowing is the opposite of forging. Because when you're forming metal, it's a lot of brute strength. You're really pounding that metal where you want it to go and hammering it out and like getting really like that way with glass. It's like taking care of like one of my professors said this, but it was like it's kind of taking care of a baby bird. You have to like have a really soft touch, depending on how hot the glass is, and then it cools almost instantaneously. Like within under a minute, the surface is too hard to shape. So
Jeez.
so you're constantly having to read the glass, like and knowing how hot is it from the glow and the movement of it. And then you have to be precise enough to be like light pressure to shape. And then as it starts to cool almost instantaneously, like increase your pressure on certain things. because sometimes you like do too much pressure and then you like just totally fuck up a piece, and it's like, well, and it's like, well, I can either spend time to fix it or just like trash it and start over. So I do think
Man,
through glass, there's a lot of like life lessons and like personal growth lessons to learn through people. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of like grinding and going through, but also like when you're working on some of the best pieces of your life that are your favorite, 3 seconds or 5 seconds later, they're like shattered to pieces on the floor. And like there's been so many times where like I've broken like so many bowls in a row because bowls are kind of more harder shaped to make, that I had to like go outside or to the bathroom and like just take a break and like cuss a bunch and like flare like my arms and be like, why did I choose this career? Like, why did I do this to myself? This sucks. I hate it so much. So you do have days like that. Like no matter if you're professional, how long you've been doing it, you have days where you just like go in there breaking everything. You have an off day, things suck. And the next day, everything works out just how you imagine, and everything's perfect, and it's so magical, and it's like so fulfilling when you get like something that you want perfect or whatever. Just a lot of practice, a lot of building up like muscle memory and finger movements. Kind of similar to like learning an instrument. A lot of grinding is involved.
Okay.
So
So, I mean, so that second year, I mean, I mean, what was your question, Alan? What was his favorite thing he made, or?
Yeah, like what was your favorite? What was your favorite like
oh man,
glass?
I kind of got
What
off
was your
track. My bad,
favorite?
Alan.
You're good.
No,
No,
great.
what
No,
is?
I kind of got you off track as well. That's on me. I'm a
Um,
So I guess let me ask you this. So out of your whole time there at UT Arlington, what was your favorite like project, favorite whatever like glass object
or
that you made?
what did you really
so
like to make?
So I personally really like making bowls and kind of like more vessel shapes, but like bowls and foras, kind of amphora shapes are like tapered towards the bottom. They have like big shoulders and either a short stubby neck or really long necks. I also made a lot of flattened vessels. So we have these big cork paddles. We can like squish and flatten pieces. So instead of like having a round piece, you can have it like flattened and like this wide, you know. I also learned how to do this thing where you can like poke holes in glass. So you use the big tweezers and you can like touch the glass to itself. And if you keep opening it up, a hole kind of appears. So I made a lot of these like teardrop shaped vases. And I put a hole straight through the middle. And they're called like life buoy vases or like donut vases, people call them. But I made a lot of
you know
those. And
what? I
really,
have seen
Yeah,
those.
I was
Yeah,
just they're like a an O, I guess.
yeah,
yeah,
they
they're,
have like a
they're either
big
like an
hole in the
oval
middle.
or like a teardrop. And then they just
Yeah.
have a hole straight through the
Yeah,
center. I used to make a lot of those as well. But I love making bowls personally and plates. And some of those vessels with like holes in them and then four shapes typically.
I know you
Uh,
told me y'all would like sell the glass at the school, right? Kind of like, is it like at the end of the year type thing and like end of the
yes.
semester? I mean, what does glass go for?
oh, that's a good question.
So in the beginning, so it's actually so ceramicists, from what I've heard in school, don't like glass blowers because you can sell glass way easier than like a ceramic piece. But glass is more expensive material wise and time and like effort, which people don't realize that. And that's kind of like changed since the back in the day when like all the beautiful china glass that was like uh that people have in their china cabinets and stuff, like where it's all carved and beautiful and polished, all that like crystal lead glass, kind of all the hand makers went out of business when industrial glass started forming. Also, from what I've heard through other glass blowers, and just my personal opinion of watching certain videos, the US probably had propaganda on industrial glass saying like you would get lead poisoning from the crystal lead glass. I don't think there's not been enough research or even testing done through scientists to even prove that theory. Um, if it was true, you would have to let your like water sit in a crystal lead glass for like centuries before even a speck of lead like leaked through the glass to even contaminate it. Now,
Wow.
the factory workers, they definitely got lead poisoning. They definitely got uranium poisoning to make glow in the dark or like blacklit glass. Back in the day, OSHA wasn't around, so that killed a lot of glass blowers, I'm sure, and a lot of factory workers that worked in glass. But I think that what broke, like when industrial glass came, people were like, "Why spend $60 on 2 pairs of glasses or a set of four, um, that are really nice and beautiful and handmade, rather than getting like 30 pairs at Walmart for like $15, $30. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So like sometimes it's so hard to sell glass, and people just don't understand the value of and the time that takes into like actually like making the item. So people just don't understand what it takes into it. So that's sometimes kind of like a haggle thing when you're like, well, this is made by craftsmen and stuff, and it's really nice and beautiful. And it's kind of like one of a kind or like a one off, compared to like, yeah, you could go get your like cheaper, sturdier glass from, you know, Aldi or, Target or somewhere.
Like they don't understand the art.
Yeah, they just don't
I mean,
understand how it's made and like what goes into it, because it's not as easy to get like a cylinder. Doesn't take as much time as like they do like beer bottles or like the mass produced glasses that you buy at stores. Like, because that glass is a little different. They use molds, like metal molds, and they like have a little bit of glass. They compress air and shove it through that mold, and it also takes like half the time to anneal. And the technology, I actually met a guy that works in that industry or worked in it for a while, like a few weeks ago from work, and like with the new technology, they can crank out like probably 1,000 glasses in a few hours with the new technology.
Wow.
It's so insane. Like within a day, they probably can have like almost 1,000 glasses in a day, or close, probably like half. But
So
so
just to kind of
crazy.
interject real quick, and we can get back to what you were talking about, but how long does it normally take you to craft something? I mean, I'm sure more complex items take longer,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah, so for sculpture workers, I don't know too much about that. Like I haven't done really too much sculpting, like small sculpting, but not really like really hyper detail sculpting, anything like that. Not really my style. But for them, it's could be anywhere from like 3 to 6 hours to 8 hours working on one piece, depending on how large and depending on how many fine bits and movements are on it. So let's just like kind of break it down. Like if someone made a frog, they would make the body first or whatever or last.
mhm.
But before that, the few days before, they might make the leg. They might like make one leg hyper detailed, put it away, anneal it, let it cool down slowly, and then they might make the other three legs in one day. And then the second day is when they make the body. You have to preheat the legs again, and then you can stick them while it's hot back to the piece, which is super technically hard because you have to balance temperatures. You can't let anything get too cold or explode or crack. And it's a lot of time management, but it's typically that takes up a team from like five to almost 8 people, depending on like how large you go and stuff. And with glass, you can't start something and you can't stop. It's like a constant thing.
Man,
You can't really like take breaks really. It's like once you make something, you can't like stop, like pottery. Like if you're like halfway through your vase and you get a phone call, you can stop. With glass, it either breaks, like the only kind of breaks you get is like if it breaks on the floor, or you put it away and then you make something else afterwards.
Like with the stuff you make, how long does that take?
Depending on, well, obviously due to like experience and time and how much muscle memory you built up from making one shape. You can get faster at making one thing, but some of the larger vases I make take me about an hour 15, hour 30. Some I've worked on some stuff for like 2 hours, like helping teachers and stuff. They're really like detailed, really huge items. Um, but mostly I would say anywhere from like 30 minutes to maybe like 2 hours is what we work on. Sculptors definitely not much, but like vessel work doesn't take too much time depending on what you're making. Though I will
wow,
say, and that how complicated and all like your color techniques and stuff you do kind of add time and skill to that. So it kind of just depends. But I would say nothing more than like 3 hours, unless you're doing like a giant sculpture of like a frog or a well or things like that, or like of a person.
wow,
That's nuts.
yeah.
Mhm.
The more you know, that's just nothing. So
And
so when do you decide to venture out on your own?
so I think that was like my second semester and maybe my third semester. I was not very like I was still in the very beginner stages of glass when I got my job at where I'm still currently at now. This month is 4 months, so that's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Um,
Congratulations.
thanks.
This month is what?
But I
It's 4 months, he said.
4 months at your job right now?
no 4 years.
Oh,
4 years at your job.
4 years. All right. Did I say months? I meant
Yeah.
years. I meant
you
four
may have said
years. Oh my bad. Uh, so 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 I either like the second semester in school learning glass blowing or my third semester in school learning glass blowing. I actually got a job because a friend got hired there, one of my classmates, and they're like, they're still hiring, and I was like, well, I want to finish out my year too strong, and then I'll see if I'll apply. So I applied at the end of May, and then I went in for my interview, and literally like that day, they were like, oh my god, a class event booked. They're like, do you have practice bringing like this certain thing called a punny? And like loading into the annealing box where you put the glass to cool down slowly. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, you start today. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't really go through like a normal interview process. They were like, hey, we have this event. We're understaffed. Can you work this afternoon? And they were like, do you want to go home and come back? And I was like, no, I'll just like sit here and wait. Because it was only like a few hours wait. But because
by
I was like,
literally,
I ain't driving back to Arlington and then driving back up to Dallas. There's no
by
way.
literally being thrown into the fire, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so literally, like my first thing when I walked in, they were like, "Hey, can you work tonight?" And I was like, "Okay." And so I
You're like,
worked that night, and then that's kind of solidified my job, and I like started working from there.
you were like,
So I
fuck
got
it, let's
really
go.
lucky because my friend that went started like 3 or 4 weeks earlier. She went in, and they like made her like practice making some things and like how to do all this like training and stuff and like testing her like skills, and I didn't do any of that, and I like already got my job. So she was like, what? They didn't like interview me, ask me questions or anything. They're like, just, can you help tonight? And I was like, yeah, okay. And they were like, you hired.
not
So
the
that was
worst
pretty
way to
cool.
get a job. I mean,
Yeah.
Right?
Of
Yeah.
course it was like the midst of COVID, so that's why they were understaffed. So
wow.
but
So, I mean, like, what? So, when you left, was there any more you needed to learn? Would you have
um
learned anything else? Did you feel like you had learned all you had learned when you
well
decided to start venturing out?
So when I left, it was probably like almost over a year later. So I had gone to school like Monday through Thursday, every single day, long hours in the hot shop, either helping somebody, working on my own stuff, picking up slots here and there, practicing. I did help some teachers on certain things as well. And then on the weekends, I was getting trained by them and working through classes, like helping people make stuff. So literally, and this kind of helped me, I think, advance quickly and further in glass. Is I was literally doing it 7 days a week, almost all day, like for at least at 6 hours at a time, or maybe more, like 8 hours or more. Um, and so I did that for over a year, which I almost got burnout of glass, and I was like, I got to take a break because I did that for a year, no like breaks, no nothing, no vacation, just like solid grinding. Which like I said, definitely, definitely helped me get my skills. I could feel like every 2 weeks, I felt like myself getting better. Like I could see the improvement in my hand skills and my movements and my like shaping almost. It was kind of wild to like be able to see it in person and like realize it. But after a while, I knew I wasn't going to finish the degree plan. I did not want to go back and finish taking my core classes and stuff. I literally just wanted to learn glass. So towards the end, before I quit, I was only taking glass blowing classes. That was it. I was only taking like 1 or 2 classes a semester, learning glass, um, and then just working most of the time. And then work kind of offered me a raise, and so I was like, well, can't hurt. And I was like, I think I have enough skill now to at least do my job well and continue being trained by them. And I never thought it was super important to finish with the degree. Obviously there's some benefits and some better options if you do finish with glass blowing, but I'm like, this is a spill, like this is more like trade kind of skill worked material. So as long as I have the skill, I can get a job anywhere. I felt, at least personally. So that's why I ended up quitting school because I just was like, I don't want to go back to school. It's too much money, kind of thing, to keep doing this on my own. And I was like, I just
Yeah.
continue just working and being trained by them. So that's kind of
And
how my job was. Plus, I was like doing it so much for such a long time that I was like kind of getting burnt out. I was like, I need more break time. Like I need a gap between school and work. So I was like, let me just work
Yeah,
instead of killing
sorry.
myself.
You. You're looking kind of dark, man. You may want to flip the light on.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I can turn the light on in here.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
the sun's shining right
he
now.
slowly dissipated over the interview.
yeah.
Let's see. Is this better? This is not too much light.
That's
No,
good.
Yeah,
that's
That's
no,
good.
that's
Okay,
good.
okay,
That's
gotcha,
good.
gotcha. Yeah. Thank you for. I also was noticing. I was like, man, the sun's setting faster and faster.
So
so. Oh, go ahead, Alan. Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead, Ivan. Go ahead.
So you leave school. You're at your job. So have you grown as a glass blower at your job, or
Yes.
have you
Um.
learned more? Like, have you gained more experience? Kind of
Yes. For the
perfected your
first.
craft to the best of your abilities of what you can do.
Yeah. So I'm like really good at my job down. I could probably do most of my job with like muscle memory and in my sleep now most of the time.
Jeez.
Because I've been doing it for like almost 4 years now. I also moved up very quickly in my job because they were understaffed. And like, so I started out as an assistant through where I work is Carlin Ray Designs, Dallas Glass Art in Dallas. Um, so we do mostly like custom work for hiring clients, like mostly home decor, so like chandeliers, wall pieces, outdoor pieces as well. So we do all that. Dallas Glass Art, what I work for is more so towards the community. So we bring people in, they do events, parties, what we call make your owns in the glass community, where we kind of teach you a little bit about glass. We make small items with you or glasses, and then you get it vases, bowls, and then you get to take those home and keep them. And then we also have our nonprofit, which our owner, Carlin, works with under-resourced kids around the DFW area. And so we've done like through that, we've done a bunch of different schools, teaching people heavily through STEAM concepts, more the science side of glass, teaching kids about it, like kind of introducing to them, like, hey, there's other career paths, through like STEM and stuff. So we do a bunch of kids. High schools, we worked with some like nonprofit groups, some homeschool groups that love us. They keep coming back. And then recently we also done like stuff, some groups for like abusive homes or kind of like neglect survivors and stuff like that.
Wow, so you're like y'all are actively
That's cool,
involved in the
man.
community.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Carlin's built this thing up from scratch, and it's really awesome working for her and seeing what she's achieved and everything. But through my job, going a little bit more about me, I kind of got off topic. I wanted to just kind of explain more of like where I
no,
work.
I loved hearing that.
Um,
That's
So
uh,
real quick. So, I mean, you know how glass, glass blowing. It seems like it's pretty good, pretty big there in the
mhm,
Dallas area, right?
mhm.
So, what is for someone that is interested in going into glass blowing? What is the salary looking like for in that area specifically, or just say like around USA?
if you'd like,
um,
of course.
If
I
you'd
mean,
like,
Kind
you
of
don't have to disclose
depends.
that.
yeah, no, I'm just asking like particular like the starting salary. What would you
Uh,
expect?
so
What do you expect going into it? Like the starting pay for a glass blowing job?
It kind of just depends, like where you work, and like how skilled you are. Because like I started as assistant and got paid like really low, probably even like lower than what I was kind of supposed to at the time.
Mhm.
Um, but it kind of does just depends. Like one of the, at least from what I've knowledge of some of my friends, and it might have changed, but they basically start you out with like I think $20 an hour at one studio, but it's a more nonprofit studio. You start working at $20 an hour. You train for about 6 months, and then if you stay with them long enough, you get bumped up like about 25. And you
Okay.
kind of at 25 from there. I'm not sure if you get raises. I guess it depends on if you go up in the management part and stuff. I started pretty low. I started lower than that, and then I've worked my way up, and now I'm getting, um, close to
You don't
like
you don't got
almost.
to share your personal. I'm
Okay,
just
okay,
like
yeah.
I'm wondering just like internet, like national, USA, like
Uh, I'm not really sure actually. I know independent artists that make their own work. They work at a studio and then they work sometimes on their work on the side, and they kind of have like a side hustle or get into galleries or people like get custom work from them. So I'm assuming that's where they get most of their money from.
So do you get compensated for your own work that sells, like your own art? Do you get like any?
Yes, at least at my studio, I do. So, like, if I'm not like working for them and making something for them, I don't get compensated for that. But I have sold some of my personal pieces through my work. And sometimes, like once a year, we have like an open house, and the artists there can sell their work, and I make some money through that. So I've sold some stuff through that, and that's all goes to me. I don't have to pay commission. I think if I went in through the gallery. I might have to pay a small percentage, depending on what gallery you're at, and get into like museum stuff and everything.
So do you sell a lot when you put stuff when y'all do the open house? Do you sell
Um,
a bit?
I don't think I sell, but like one or two items. This past time around, last time, I did better. I only sold one piece, but it was like a piece that was 175, and it was a big vase. It looked like a slug.
Yeah.
So, some couple really, really loved it, and they were like, "We love that! It looks like a slug." They're super happy about it, so they bought that vase, and so
I mean, it sounds
uh,
like it sounds like you can. I mean, no matter what, you're doing what you love.
mhm.
So like, no matter what the pay is, whatever it is, you're doing what you love, and you're happy with what you're doing. So like, what more would you want in life? You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
want.
yeah. I mean, yes, I would like to get paid, and I would like to feel more secure about like having enough money not to worry about like things in life. Just to have that cushion. It's always been kind of the goal. But I am doing what I love, and I am getting paid for it, and I am kind of like making it. So that is pretty awesome, I would say. But I also need to do more about being present on social media, kind of posting more content, getting my pieces out there, and also doing more commissions. I have done a few commissions, mostly like for friends and family. I have done some for like some customers I met that took a class with me, and then they ordered stuff on the side. Um, so I have done a little bit of stuff, but I just need to get more proficient at that. I also really need to sit down more recently and really think about like some bigger pieces and some art, and trying to create a style. I kind of been working on that right now as we speak, to hopefully get into galleries soon. Like kind of put myself out there a little bit more, try to get into some galleries to get my work shown and stuff.
What's your style? You gotta like what is it too early for you to
I
reveal
can't.
the
I
world?
mean, I want to like make certain bowls and stuff because I love that, but I have to figure out like what I'm like really kind of proficient in and keep practicing in that technique and then doing stuff. I would love to be able to carve and grind through glass, like patterning
Oh
work
wow.
through different colors because you can layer glass colors and then you can carve through the different layers, and it looks really beautiful and different designs that way. We just don't have carving wheels at work, and they're kind of expensive. So I've been like thinking of like maybe trying to go in on that, and just kind of spending a bunch of money. So I'm able to start that. But that's kind of like what my work I want to get to. But as of right now, I got to figure something else out and do something through colors and technique more so and design, before I can actually get into the carving. At UTA, when I went to school, they did have like a lathe wheel, and they were able to like diamond centered bits carve through the glass and kind of create some like textures and patterns through that. And I did some of that there, so I really enjoyed it. But I haven't been able to do that since I've been working. So I
Yeah.
don't have the
T-
equipment, unfortunately.
Talking about your socials, so I looked at your profile a little bit earlier, and there was one piece that really caught my eye, and I wanted to talk about it. And I think it was kind of cool that you mentioned COVID earlier, but you have this one that's like a virus piece, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like the COVID-19
Oh
virus,
yeah, yes.
but it just looks really cool to me, and it seems super complex. I don't know if Alan and Ivan, if you guys have seen that. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's it
funny
exactly.
enough, our professor was like, let's just make, kind of try to make it a little bit more lighthearted or whatever, you know. So she was like, since everyone's thinking about COVID, it's on people's brains right now. She's like, let's make the final project viruses. So she's like, make these bubbles, make them crazy, make them look like viruses, and that's going to be your final project.
Yeah.
So that was like I think the second semester, like after my first semester, that was the second semester. That was like kind of the finals, making these like viruses. So that purple and yellow one that's on my Instagram page, yes, that was actually like inspired to like make my own kind of type of virus, because that was our project. And I made some few other ones and stuff, but that one looks mostly like a virus to me that I made.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Um, it just takes so long. It wasn't super complicated because it's just like a sphere shape. The
Mhm.
complicated part was like going back through and like placing every individual of those yellow bits one by one, and then like
Yeah.
creating like balls at the end. So that was like it just took a long. It's just like a long process. It wasn't super complicated though. Just a lot of bit work.
And did you
So,
sell
So
that or?
yeah, I was going to say, did that piece get sold?
No, I actually still have that one. It's actually
Oh.
mom at my mom's house. I think. I think
nice.
she might try to sell it though. She's going to take it up to work and hopefully, if y'all want it, it's for sale. So
Hey. So when you're working on a piece like that, I mean, what's kind of the process? Like, do you start out and like you make like a rough sketch of what you want to do, or do you just kind of go in and start messing around like with the glass as you're working on it?
Is it like
you
on the
can do,
fly?
huh?
Is it on the fly? You just have an idea?
No,
Get in
sometimes
there.
I will say some of my style is on the fly. Like, I have a general shape that I kind of want to do,
Yeah.
in my head, and then I go do it or I try to do it. Though in school is a little bit more structured, where we had to like do sketches. Like, sketch as many
Okay.
items out, and then pick your top three, and that's what you're going to do for your project or whatever. But my style was more so like, let me try this technique, then I'm going to either make a bowl at a base out of this.
Nice.
Sometimes when you're first learning, though, it didn't quite always work. Like, maybe you messed up the setup, you messed up a step or whatever. Sometimes the glass was fighting you a little bit, and you're like, well, this isn't going out exactly how I planned, so I switched on the dime. So, like, one time I went in there to make bowls, couldn't make a bowl to save my life that day. So I ended up just making vases. But luckily, I can like switch from making bowls to vases like in the process. Like, it's not like too hard to switch from one or the other. If it was the other way around, it would be a little bit harder to turn a vase into a bowl.
Yeah.
You can work from a like a sphere standpoint. You can like make a lot of shapes from that one. So, um, but yeah, it was a little bit more structured in ideas. So like right now, I have been planning some stuff. Kind of, I haven't really done as many sketches as I like did in school, but I kind of like think about it in my head. I kind of plan it out all week, and then I kind of go through the process in my brain, and then I do it when like once a week on Sundays. I try to, if my coworkers are available for help.
Mm.
So I do get to work
Nice.
personal work like once a week, which is pretty awesome because most studios you either have to rent time or you get discounted time. Like, it's like discounted to rent time. And so, but fortunately enough, I can, you know, make personal work at least once a week, which is nice at my job.
So your schedule now, like now that you're away from college, you're at your full time job, you're working. Is your job more of a Monday through Friday, 7 days a week?
It can be more than 5 days a week, depending on like classes and events. Sometimes our new manager is really trying hard to like make sure we have 2 days off, not overwork us. Um, this past week was pretty crazy. We worked like almost at least like 8 to 10 hour days back to back almost all week. So it can get busy sometimes depending what year, like what time of the year it is. But normally I have like one of the weirdest schedules for working. I go in typically either at like 1 to 3 p.m. and then I work till like about 10:30 every night.
Wow.
Depending. Sometimes it's like 11:30, sometimes it's 11, sometimes we get out at 9:30. It just kind of depends on what's going on, like Vincent's schedule wise, and how long clean up and refilling the furnace takes.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it tonight.
Yeah. Well, today's my off day. Typically, I'm off
Oh, there
Mondays and
you go.
Tuesdays. So,
So
like, some of our busiest days are on weekends. So,
Yeah.
like our lot, like, so me and my other coworker, Typically, our longest days are Sundays. Every week, that's at least like a 10 to 11 hour shift.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is kind of hard when you go in at 3 every week and you stay up till like 2:30 every night. You sleep all in the morning, so you can't do that one day of the week.
Man. So, kind of going into the events that you guys do, I mean, you guys seem to have a whole bunch of different, whether it's nonprofit or just private events that you guys kind of do. How does that kind of differ? Like, I know you said you worked with kids in schools, and then you also just work with everyday people that come in for an event. So, what does that kind of difference in event look like? Like, I'm sure you have the kids doing maybe something different than you would an adult that's going to the class, or
Not necessarily. It depends on what items you make and how many people. So, like events, like private events, and the public classes that are only on Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends, work very similar. They're like assembly line.
Mhm.
So, like there's there's two holes that are running that are like for like reheating chambers. We call them glories. You start out at one, you apply color. Maybe they do the starting process of like what you're making, and then you finish with me since I'm a lead instructor, and then I finish making your item with you. So it's kind of like assembly line, and we walk people through. Um, Private events are a little bit more personal. We get a really like you get an hour block, hour and a half, or 2 hour block, and you can bring in snacks and drinks on those, and you just make as many items as you can in that like 1 to 2 hour block. So like sometimes people love on the 2 hour one coming in either making some really like big plates or bowls, like a nice centerpiece, maybe a giant large vase. And also couples really like coming in making sets of drinking glasses. At least for me, what I've noticed is typically in about 2 hours people can make about 8 drinking glasses total in that like set.
wow.
And so they get a pretty big set. If they don't make anything else, if it's just drinking glasses, they make about 8 total from the people that I've worked with, timing wise. So,
What's the pricing on that? Are you even able to?
I believe our pricing. I don't look at the pricing too much, so I could be wrong, but I think it's like around 425, maybe 450 for the 2 hour class. Um, and it's
Wow.
like, and like I said, you get a lot of different items you can make, and during that stuff,
And
like
it's like
you can make more than 8 if you make small items. Oh, sorry, what say that again?
it's like customizable to you too, right? So like it's your own unique thing when you leave.
Kind of. I mean, I mostly ask what they kind of want, and then I try my best to kind of match what they're envisioning in their head. A little bit here and there. I can't really like
And
stylize too much of like, we can't go like too crazy. I have sometimes, but not. You can't make too something out of the wheelhouse or something that takes too long. So we try to stick to the items that we offer, but every once in a while, like I'll kind of bend the rules. Like one person wanted a giant cylinder, so I made her a giant cylinder for a vase for like flowers. Or maybe someone wants like our beer glass, but they want to put a handle on it. Like I've done like some like little subtle
wow.
things like that, but nothing like super complicated. That's not out of like time frame or wheelhouse wise.
Sturdy are these glasses? I mean, can they take a beating?
Uh, so our glass isn't as strong as Pyrex just because it doesn't have the element boron in it. Boron really makes glass really like temperature resistant. So the glass we work is like soda lime glass, and it has a COE of about 96. So if like you put it under a Bunsen burner, it would explode. Or if like you put it in the dishwasher, maybe it would crack if you use like a dry side or a lot of hot water, and it cooled too fast. But it's pretty sturdy. Like we say, handmade, hand wash at work, but you could probably put it on the top shelf of your dishwasher and probably be okay if you didn't use dry cycle on it. You can't put it in the microwave. You can't like really go from like really cold to really hot real fast, or it will explode or
Yeah.
crack. Unfortunately, but it's like it's glass. It's sturdy enough.
Oh,
Um, but
so do you tell them that when they leave?
yeah. We make sure to tell them that because people ask us questions too. But yeah, they know that. We try to make sure people know that they're not as sturdy as Pyrex. So Pyrex is similar. It has like I think a COE of like around 98, I believe. So it's a little bit more like, and scientific glass that they do all the chemical burning or like experiments in, like they can take it off a bunch of them and put it on. That glass is a lot more sturdier. Also, that's the same kind of scientific glass, the same type of glass that they used to make like water pipes and stuff out of, because it's a lot more
Oh wow.
sturdier. So like,
Oh,
because we get this question all the time, like at sometimes as a glass blower, you're like, oh, do you make like bongs or pipes? You know, and I gotta just be like, no, this is not the style of glass blowing I do. Like technically, theoretically, like I could make a bong shape for you, but you would have to like have the female and downstem piece be like a different type of glass, like the flame workers do that they work on, like with the oxygen acetylene arson propane torches, because that can actually handle the heat. You put like a torch on my glass, it would explode or crack. So it kind of depends on what you're doing with that.
Wow.
So most people don't understand like there's different types, like because, and that's something like that most people don't understand either, is like you can't just take a bunch of beer bottles and wine bottles and recycle it into our glass. It's not compatible. As soon as like we try to anneal it, it'll explode or crack. Now you can take your own crucible and melt down a bunch of like beer bottles of the same brand. They should be compatible enough to like make something out of that. Because you can always
See, I didn't
recycle
I
glass.
didn't know that.
Yeah, different types of glass have different type of like COE, which is coefficient of expansion, that really plays in part in like cooling the glass down slowly so it survives. And some glasses can be cooled faster than others, slower than others. It kind of just depends on what you add. You can
Yeah.
actually change the properties of glass depending on what different metals and minerals you add to it, and that also changes the colors of glass. Like so, pink glass typically comes from like gold oxide. They actually add gold to it to make the pink, like, or ruby, like nice ruby reds to it, which is
Wow.
that pink is like the most expensive color to buy, like glass wise, like glass color. Some cheaper
Mhm.
ones are like greens and blues, since they're made with more common metals like iron or cobalts or coppers, depending on like what shades and stuff.
Oh.
You can actually
oh,
add lithium to glass to make it like hold on to its heat longer. So glass that doesn't have like lithium loses its heat faster than like lithium embedded glass. Which now, since lithium's kind of more expensive to buy because of like a lot of the more kind of newer technology on cars, like all the batteries are lithium and stuff.
Yeah.
The lithium is becoming more like scarce, so like a lot of like clear glass that you buy is getting more expensive now because of the lithium shortage, with all the Teslas and all the events like electric cars and stuff with batteries.
There's so much to glass blowing that I really never thought of. Like, I mean, I would have never thought that lithium from batteries and stuff would have an impact on the pricing of clear glassware. Like,
Yes.
and it's just so insane how much it actually goes into it.
such
Yeah,
ex-
there's so much like chemistry and science that goes into like making glass and glass color, which I don't know like too much on, but I know a little bit here and there from what I've learned from other people, or like, did research on myself. But yeah.
oh,
Wow. Honestly, we should go to one of these classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been every time Ivan comes down, I've been asking him like, "Hey, do you want to come up to the studio this day and make something?" And he's always like, "Nah, bro, it's all right. We'll do something."
dude, I feel like I'm hungover, dude. What do you think?
Imagine
Last
getting
time, I was,
blasted in the face with that 2,000-degree heat hungover.
Yeah.
dude, last time I was out there,
Hey,
dude, you didn't get home till like 5 a.m.
That's
hey,
fair.
you'll sweat it all out though.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it a few times. Not proud of it though. It sucks, but it's all
God,
right. You'll be able to
I was
handle
to
it.
say that's got to be brutal.
So,
Oh my God.
do you
Yeah.
have some class for us to see? Like, can you show us a couple
Yeah,
things?
yeah. I got some pieces that I kind of like picked up and stuff. I'm not, since I'm on my phone, it's gonna be a little tricky, but let me know if like I need to change the angle or something of something like the bowl, or
That's,
whatever.
Oh, nice.
So,
bro, that's
so,
insane.
so it's like it's purple, yellow, red, and pink.
Oh yeah, I see that thin stripe of pink in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
how
like
hard is that to like layer it?
layering process actually takes a lot longer. It takes a lot of prep time. So what I actually did is what I made like some cylinders. And I actually made like a purple one, yellow one, red one, and pink one, and then I sawed them all in half with like a table saw, basically.
Hmm.
And then I stacked them up in this like what we call a pickup kiln. So certain glass pieces, when you pick them up, you have to preheat them to about 1,000 degrees or a little bit hotter to be able to like pick them up and then like be able to shape them and stuff. Because you can't go from like 0 to 2,000 or explode because of the thermal shock. So we have these like kilns. So I had to like, so I did it a little hotter than 1,000. I think I did it to about like around 1,250, almost 1,300 is when glass starts to like fuse together. So I stacked up these different colored rings in this pickup kiln so they fused, and I picked up that full fusing and then like covered it in clear glass and then shaped it into that mold. So it's a little bit more technically, and it takes a little bit like more days of prep than normally. But it looks really cool to get the individual like solid stripes in there.
Yeah, that's actually nuts.
This piece I made recently for our last open house. This is a
Oh wow.
giant like solid white bowl center, and then it has all these like kind of more different scrap color bits around the edge with a white kind of median, and then it has like, it's hard to see because it got a little weird, but it has like a pink, what we call lip wrap. So it's just like lip wraps are just like little decorative things you put on the rims of glass or feet of goblets to make it a little bit more fancy and decorative. But yeah, this is one of the like bigger pieces I've done. This is a huge bowl. So
What? That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
a. I love like the different like colors in that and kind of.
yeah,
Oh man.
what's really cool about glass? Well, the kind of unfortunate thing about glass is only like sunlight does it like true justice, but it's
Yeah.
still really like you could get some nice like with LED lights and stuff. But, sunlight is like what's the best. I made this. It kind of looks like a clam. I made this for my grandpa. It's kind of like green and white. It's kind of
Oh.
like a taco shape.
Ooh.
So, I'm not seeing.
You know that kind of reminds me of those. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like those warped vinyls, and they make them into like different like bowls or something like that. That's what that
No, I
shape
haven't
is
seen that.
giving me, like that.
That's
Uh,
crazy, dude.
I just did a commission for a coworker. I made her a pink hat, pink cowboy hat. So
Oh, dude.
Cool.
so
Bro,
it's like bubblegum pink. So, but I made her like this little cowboy hat here.
bro,
That
what
is
is run?
badass.
Huh?
What is that run?
This one I'll probably sell it to her for about like I think at work we sell our cowboy hats for about $50. This is a little bit bigger, so I'll probably do about 55, maybe 60, depending on what she's willing to pay.
Damn.
I'll probably haggle with her since maybe give her a discount since she's a coworker. But, this I made this chalice the other day. This is for my like uncle. Um, so it has like a solid foot
Oh,
on.
that one's
Oh, well,
badass.
that's pretty
It's
cool.
like a giant cylinder. Probably good for like ice cream or like sorbet or something fancy up top.
I
But
drink
it has
beer
like
with
a
that.
black wrap on it, and then it has these like little. Let me see if I can get closer to the camera. Has these little patterned stamps. I took a bit of glass and then stamped it with like a brass stamp to create these little patterns on the edges. It has like
Wow.
a solid foot on that one.
Oh, that's
I'd use
crazy.
that as like a draft cup.
Yeah, I mean you can drink whatever you want to out of it. I just thought it would be nice for like ice cream or something, little ice cream cup.
That's what we ought to do. We should go to a class, make us some beer glasses, and that's what we use for the show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, or if you all want to, I could custom make y'all some beer glasses or some like
Shit.
big fancy like little heavy chalices or goblets for the
Bartok
for your thing.
goblets.
Bartok goblets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could use beer for them, but they could be fancy. I could definitely do something like that if y'all are interested. That would be fun. That'd also help me. You know?
See, that is
Yeah,
cool.
That'd definitely be something to look into.
Yeah, that's nuts, bro.
I mean, that's got to be such a rewarding process going from the concept in your head to like the finished product there. Like, I mean, man.
Yeah, chalices are crazy. That's
Yeah, they're pretty
that.
cool. It gets cool. I could get real decorative, put a bunch of like little handles or decor. I've never practiced this, but like some of the like Italian style goblets, they have like little dolphin stems.
What?
Yeah, yeah, they have like little dolphin stems or like little sea dragons. They look like little sea dragons stems. I mean, they're a little bit more technically hard to make, but yeah, they're pretty cool looking. Going back to Alan's question, I know we got off of it, but the last thing, like my favorite piece that I made at school was this decorative goblet. And it was like a sea serpent stem, and then like the top kind of matched the bottom. And it was like these little squares, like these little squares of green, and then they had clear in the center and clear around it. And then I had like a lip wrap. But it was like that was probably the last thing I made, which one of my like technical favorite things
Do
at
you have any
school.
of those ring holders that you were showing me?
I do not here, bro. I unfortunately haven't made any. I
They're
gotta
pretty
practice.
sweet, bro.
But yeah, I need to make some more of those. I definitely need to make some more of those so I can sell them because those sell like pretty good. I think a lot of customers have asked for those. So I need to make some more ring holders, but I don't have any on stock right now, unfortunately. All of them sold.
So I've got to ask, what exactly is a Prince Rupert's drop?
Okay, so a Prince Rupert's drop is basically just stress. It's just due to stress, but you take a bit of hot glass and basically you can drop it into water, and the water hyper cools the outer surface of the glass. So the outer surface starts to shrink and compact. And the inside is still molten hot. Think about that. So like as it cools from the outside really fast towards
Yeah.
the inside. So as the glass shrinks, like probably even smaller than millimeters in size, it creates all this built up stress. And the stress is so powerful in a Prince Rupert drop that if you like, I think some of the Mythbusters are like something like on YouTube. They have some videos of it like stopping bullets that I've seen, like where they did a slow mo and a bullet hits it and like ricochets off of it. Now they do have an Achilles heel, so the little like stringy, like real thin
Yeah,
tail.
like little tail.
Yeah, if you snap that, it explodes, and it can explode finer than sand, basically, because it has so much stress built into it. So it's like almost a powder. It's basically a powdered glass after it explodes.
Well,
So like,
I've seen them try to crush it with like a hydraulic press.
yeah,
And
Yeah, I've seen those.
it
or
will
Yeah.
not. It
hydraulic
won't.
presses, like nothing. Like they're pretty sturdy unless you hit the tail, and they like won't like. They're literally the head has so much stress that's indestructible almost. But the tail, as soon as you like twist it or snap it, it explodes to like sand because of how much stress is built into it. But it's kind of same concept of like tempered glass. So tempered glass, I believe they anneal one side um like wrong, so it creates stress in it. And that helps us for like showers that like, that have glass doors or like car side windows. When
Oh.
when the impact happens, it creates
Hmm.
that already pre-made stress in it, makes it shatter, but it makes it shatter like small shards rather than like big slabs that can cut you. Because
Wow.
back in the day, they didn't have tempered glass, and so like I think a lot of more fatalities happen in car wrecks because of the like just slabs of glass like shooting into people. So that's
Jeez.
like so if you fall through like your like say you like slip in the shower and fall through your glass shower, it should like shatter into like these fine glass shards that hopefully won't do minimal cuts rather than like big slabs that might like cut like your arm really bad, and you could die from blood loss. So that's kind of like more tempered glass and stuff, industrial glass making, but the same concept is kind of like through the Prince Rupert shop. It's just all it is tempered glass. It's just tempered enough to be almost indestructible, like through the stress that's placed on the head of it.
Man,
It's pretty
glass is
cool though.
crazy.
We
Yeah.
actually did demonstrations, and we're trying to bring it back up. They are kind of dangerous, so we stopped doing it for a nonprofit. But we used to do demos all the time, and I used to like bang tip with a hammer in front of the kids.
Jeez.
So that was always a little nerve wracking. Yeah, yeah. They were like, "Okay, now Alex is going to demonstrate strength test," and I was like hitting it with a hammer
Man.
nervously, so it doesn't.
I, so going into like glass work, Did you ever think you would be like teaching these classes or like you know doing what you're doing now compared to just maybe doing commission work?
No, I was hoping to get more into commission work because I'm just like kind of a shy guy, and um, I never thought of like working with people too much. I kind of like it's kind of funny because growing up, I never wanted to be like a teacher, and I never thought I would like you know like even go into arts for school. I never
Yeah.
thought that would be the right path. I just didn't think you could make a living off it. So it's funny now that I'm doing literally arts and I'm literally teaching classes. I'm literally teaching people about glass. So it's like kind of ironic. And I also personally I hate being hot and I hate sweating. And that's literally all my job is. So my family always teases me about that. They're like, why did you pick this thing that's so hot and sweaty? But I just love it, I guess, more than how much I feel uncomfortable. I will say at our old studio, now we have a really like nice fancier studio. It's about three times as large. We just moved into it.
Wow.
It's almost been like I think almost 3 years now in that studio. Um, that Carlin moved from, but the old one did not have air conditioning, and I had to work
Oh,
all through summer in August, which is probably the worst month of the year because it's
Texas summer heat.
yeah, well, in Dallas here it's humid. So like in August, it's 98 outside and has like 60% humidity or something. So you're
So
just
Oh.
like musty and like
what you're trying
wet.
to say is you get swamp ass a lot, huh?
Rough.
Nah, my butt's not as hairy as it.
Damn.
I manscape.
Yeah.
Is it bad?
Not a sponsor.
Shout out Manscaped.
No, it's-
I manscape.
Damn.
Make sure there's nothing that the things can't get caught on back there.
That's too much information. Don't need to know that.
Yeah.
That's cool, bro. That's a lot of glass talk for Tuesday night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I'm glad you like. Speaking personally, I mean, I'm glad you found. Like I said, you found your passion. You found your love. Like it's
thanks.
just amazing. It's just amazing seeing how passionate you are about something that you do, and you get to wake up doing something you love. You know, I've always heard like if you do something you love for work, you know, you never work a day in your life, and that's what it
Yeah.
sounds like sometimes. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, it is true. Like, I am, like, even days, I mean, it's still work some days and it's still kind of a
yeah,
pain in the
yeah,
butt, or like maybe I'm too tired, or like maybe I'm worn out because it was a long week. I still get the same things like other people do, but it's just like sometimes, like, I go into work and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to work. I don't want to do these things. And then, like, at the end of the day, I'm always like feeling like nice. Like, I still feel content. Like, I still feel like good about it. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. It wasn't actually a bad day. It was pretty easy. It was chill. I
Yeah.
feel good doing what I do. So, kind of that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though some days I'm like, oh man, I hate going to work. I don't want to do it. I just wish I could stay in bed and watch, TV or anime or something.
yeah. Don't we all, man? Don't we all?
Just think about how different things would be if you stuck with psychology.
Oh man, I don't think I would probably be like one of those other people working a regular something 9 to 5 somewhere else, and like be like, oh yeah, I got a psychology degree, but I don't use it at all.
Yeah.
Probably be
Yeah,
one of those people.
It's hilarious.
Man.
Yeah. I meet actually a lot of people that like through my work that have like went to school for psychology, but it was just so hard to like continue with it or build a clientele that they like had to switch career paths and do something else. I didn't.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I first went to school, I didn't realize how hard it was to like do some of these jobs or get into jobs, like to find. Because I thought it was always a pretty high demand job, but also like I think with our government and our society, we don't really put a lot of like effort or money into mental health or like helping people. So it's
Yeah.
also like, yeah, you can go into it. And I have met some people that stuck with psychology, like customers, and they kind of do counseling or they work with like people and kids or something, and they just feel like they get underpaid or like they don't get paid as well as they think for like helping these people through like life and stuff. And it's probably true, like because just our society is not very big on like mental health and the journey and helping people like that through that. stuff. So it's probably undercut. Probably like school, like our school system's very undercut as well.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think.
Yeah, it's like let's do a whole podcast on just that.
Mhm. Yeah, really. Not to go back more into it, but even my my old roommate that went to for psychiatry and wanted to work at hospitals and stuff and help people like that. He ended up moving back to Saudi Arabia because he's like, I get paid and the benefits are a lot better than if I stayed here and worked in America. He's like, or I would stay here, you know. So
That's great.
yeah.
I don't know what I missed, but my computer like froze.
Yeah, I was gonna say our whole
nothing.
setup just like froze on my end.
Oh man,
I don't know why, but I mean, yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But
Yeah, we're frozen. We're frozen on the stream.
yeah,
Oh no.
can you still
Everyone
hear
who,
us?
like, yeah, I can still hear y'all. Can y'all hear us?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's asking about the
No,
stream.
I can still hear us on the stream. There's video.
Yeah,
Well, my
I think it was something
computer
with. I was gonna say I think it's something with Discord. May
my
have,
computer just kind of. I think it was my Discord that kind of tripped out on me right there.
yeah, I think Discord kind of had a little bit of an issue. So I think with that, guys, Alex, it was a pleasure having you on. Loved hearing everything about your glass blowing, and I mean, it truly seems like Alan said, something you're super passionate about, and it's always great to hear. I've got to say, it's definitely something that we haven't had on the podcast before, and it's been really cool to hear.
I never had an artistic person on like that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
You're the first one.
I would love to come
Appreciate
back on and just talk about more about glass or just talk about other things with y'all if y'all would want me back on.
Maybe we'll have you on. We'll do a conspiracy. Well, did we do a conspiracy? Oh,
Oh,
you missed
yeah.
Oh, I love
it.
conspiracy.
You missed it.
I love.
Hey, there's
I
always
got
room
some
for a part
stories
two.
about like being tormented by spirits and stuff too growing up. I could definitely fill in with some stories on those if y'all want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, sure,
there's always room for. There's always room on here for you, man.
Well, thank
Yeah.
y'all. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, and we'll make sure to tag you on our social media accounts. Get you that love over there, guys. If you haven't seen his socials, like I said, I'm going to link that. Check out his page. He's got some really cool glassware on there. Some really cool stuff that he's made, and I could never do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd have the time or the patience for it. So
Yeah,
I mean, you do have to have a lot of patience, and then honestly, the biggest part I think that's most uncomfortable about people is the heat, like building up the tolerance. The heat, because it's kind of like fight or flight. Like I was saying in the kind of the beginning, like it took me a while before I stopped flinching. Like every time I would gather the glass out of the main furnace, before I was like, okay, even though I'm burning, my skin's not melting off, so I'm okay, kind of thing.
Dude, that's crazy.
Well,
But
Alex,
yeah,
again,
thank y'all.
we appreciate you being on. Again, you're welcome back anytime. Let us know. I mean, we'll do another conspiracy episode if you want to.
Awesome.
We're always open to whatever. But yeah, guys, until next time, it's been a fun time. You guys have any closing remarks?
Um,
I just want to say thank you again, Alex, for coming on. I really do appreciate
Yeah.
you taking time out of your day, bro.
Thank you.
Especially
Thank you. Yeah, I
your day
appreciate
off,
y'all having
bro.
on.
Your
one
day
word
off.
comes to mind. Cowabunga, man. Yeah.
How many drinks have y'all got through? Let me see that. Let me see y'all's trophies.
I drank a half a gallon of
I
water.
only went through two.
I
I'm
drank
on
a half
my fourth
Bro,
16 ounce.
Bro, I thought y'all
fourth?
were bar talk. Bro, can't let the newcomers show y'all up. I got through 4.
Hey, I gotta watch the technical
Hey,
stuff,
bro,
all right?
we got faded the past two ones, dude. I did at least.
Yeah, we've had some crazy shotgun episodes. If you haven't seen them,
Oh, nice.
definitely
Okay.
check them out.
I definitely have to go check them out.
All right, well, cool.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time on Bar Talk Live.
Okay, awesome. Thank y'all again. Bye, everybody.